everybody. Join me in welcoming Jim Melton.
Great. Thank you. Well, God bless you. Thanks for inviting me. You may not be thankful by the time you finish, but I'm glad you're at least standing and applauding now. It's a good start. It's better than everybody throwing things at me. It's great to be back in the land of my nativity, the Chicagoland area. I'll only make one joke later on that will come up naturally. About half of you may get it about this area. So we're gonna.
Can't wait.
Not yet. It'll come up naturally. Glad to see many of you returned from yesterday. We had a wonderful time running through running to get to the promised land through the book of Exodus and Numbers, and they eventually made it in. But it kind of started a little different than how it ended. What Moses thought was going to happen didn't, so to speak. God laid out a plan on paper. He said, okay, good, I can do that. 40 years later, the conclusion of the plan when they got in. So sometimes we have to be a little bit patient as we continue to move through life. We're going to start in Genesis 1. In fact, this is a very familiar scripture, Genesis 1:1. In fact, most of the scriptures you're going to be very familiar with, so if you need to get a nap, go ahead. We're going to look at choices and consequences. Choices and consequences. And we're a little bit deeper than, what do you want on your pizza? Or what are we having to drink? We're going to be going with coffee or tea this morning, or paper or plastic. That's another one that's been, you always got to make these choices in life all the time. We'll look at a few spiritual choices that we have to make. Because during a person's life, there are many choices that we have to make. In fact, Garrett prayed in his prayer, he talked about that, about the choices that we make, and make the right choices. And each choice that we do make will have a resultant consequence to the choice we make. And a consequence is something then that would logically or naturally follow a choice. A choice, an action, or condition. The corresponding action following the choice will either positively or negatively affect the individual's life. And in the realm of free will, beings, which we are, there's no robots here yet, right? All right, I just want to know if Chicago technology is ahead of Colorado. All right. So in the realm of free will beings, since consequences follow choices, then choices need to be based on the sound logic of God's Word. The sound logic of God's Word. So then we can observe many choices that were made in the Bible and the corresponding consequences, as we saw yesterday when many of the original children of Israel made one major choice with a serious consequence of, instead of going into a free, rich, crops already there, vineyards already there, houses already built, internet connections already up, their cell phones work great. So instead of going into that, they had to spend a number of years in the wilderness and not under ideal conditions because they made one major choice. Well, we're going to make one, or have made one major choice, which will affect our life for all eternity. But on the other hand, what about the daily choices and things like that? And what about those who didn't make those choices, who are going to inherit lakefront property? So, we start in Genesis 1:1, and in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There was nothing. Zero. We can't comprehend an absence of anything. And God was bored. So basically, okay, that's my opinion. Okay. And he decided, I think, I'll create a universe. And I'll pick out this one planet, and I'll make it green, and I'll add water, and it's going to have people eventually on it. And they're going to worship me and love me and care for me. And they're going to know that they're going to be dependent on me. And I will then take care of them. And we'll all live happily ever after. Not quite how it worked out, but eventually we will. So he decided in the beginning, whenever that was, to create heavens and the earth. So he made a choice. And then things continue. He said, you know what, I need some spirit beings to help me. Let's go to Isaiah 14, and we'll see what one of the spirit beings decided to do because of free will. Isaiah 14, and we'll go to verse 12. They're up behind me, aren't they? Well, I've got them in front of me. That was great having the monitor in front of me. Let's see what the pictures were yesterday. So Isaiah 14:12, we read, or I read, you listen. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? And that's really not his name, that's his attribute, that's his job. He's the light giver. Son of the morning, how art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart. So this is a heart decision. This is a heart choice. And not every heart choice and heart decisions are the right ones to make, as we'll see right here. He has said in his heart, I'm going to ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, which obviously, must be a really great place. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. So, this spirit being was given a responsibility by God and had 1/3 of the angels under his control, command, and all of that. And he chose not to do what he had been appointed by God to do. Asked to do, but he had free will and decided, I don't like being number 2. I want to be just like God, or I want to be better than God. And I've got all this ability and knowledge and light. I think I'll just take over. That was a choice he made. So, Revelation 12 will show us the consequence to that choice. Revelation 12:7. I could just read it up there if I could see. All right, so what happened in Revelation 12:7? There was war in heaven. This is where I need, the special effects and all of that, right? War in heaven. Michael and his angels, they fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels. Next. And prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. So the first consequence, I'm going to be like God. I'm going to run my empire the way I want to run it. And then, no, you're not. Michael, they have a giant war in heaven. And then finally, the end consequence, the end result is verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, who is called the devil and Satan. And one of his objectives is to deceive the whole world. And he's done a very good job of that still. And he ended up being who was in the heavens. He is now cast unto the earth. I always wondered why God didn't send him to Jupiter or something. Wouldn't that have been just so much better? You are sentenced to Jupiter, or one of the moons of Uranus or something. But no, the mercy of God and everything, this is where he ended up, being cast out under the earth, and all his angels went crashing down together. So that was like reading the end of the book. Revelation 20, verse 10 says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they're going to be tormented day and night forever and ever watching old reruns. You're going to have to binge watch I Love Lucy or something for ever. But that's the final consequence to the choice, free will choice he made. First off, he got cast out of heaven. He was wanting to go live in a nice, great place. And instead, war, he ended up on the earth, and he ended up deceiving everybody. And the final part is a belly flop in the lake of fire. So, that is a very unfortunate consequence. Look at Jude 6. In Jude 6, what about some of his other angels that were with him? Well, here's one of the problems. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he has reserved an everlasting change under darkness unto the judgment of that great day. They decided, because they had free will, to go along with Lucifer, and what ends up happening to them? They are in everlasting chains under darkness. They're not even free to roam around. Because of what they did, some people think that they caused the flood, and so that's what caused this to happen. But I don't know how you put a spirit being in everlasting chains. Obviously, it's a great figure of speech, that they are not free, they are under darkness, and they are put away somewhere so they can't add to the evil of this present world, which is a good thing. We've got plenty of it to go around. So some of the angels, that's where they ended up. Not a very good place to spend and then ending up in the lake of fire. All right, let's move on to Genesis 2, and we'll get back to humans. So, God decided, I really do want people. I just don't want Java Man, Cro-Magnon Man, and all the other ones from, before all of that. And here's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take this man, I'm going to form him, I'm going to make him, I'm going to create him, and then I'm going to put him in an apartment in Philadelphia. No, he's in the Garden of Eden. God takes the man and puts him in a garden of paradise. And he says, look, if you like this place, you have to maintain it. That's your job. If it's going to be a garden of paradise and it's going to stay a garden of paradise, then you have to take care of it. And, next verse, he said, God continues what he's doing for this man that he made, formed, and created. He says, now, I'm going to command you. You see all these beautiful trees there? You see all this beautiful fruit? Even kale? That's the vegetable of the month, or the vegetable of the year now, right? All right. All this beautiful trees in this garden, everything that's in there, you can freely eat. You don't have to have a charge card and have a limit every month. You can freely eat there. And since it's easier to do this, I'm just going to read off of that. But here's one thing. You see that tree over there? That one right there. I'm identifying it here so there's no mistake. This beautiful tree right here, because later the fruit looks really good on it. But the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Consequence. That tree, leave it alone. If you eat of it, and the fruit's going to be pleasant, just like all the other fruit around here, it's going to look really good. But when you eat of it, you're going to die. You're going to have consequences, serious consequences, if you do that. And then God looked at him and went, something's missing here. Oh, man, you know what? It's really not good for you to be alone. You know what I'm going to do? I'll get you a helpmate. So he made a dog. No, he didn't. Did not give him a dog, did he? No. Dogs are great. However, they don't replace women. It has helpmates. Right, because helpmates can cook better than most of the dogs can. So, all right, so I'm going to make a helpmate. I'm going to give you a helpmate. And what did God dream up? What did God say? This is going to be the best for man. A woman. A woman. And they would put their efforts together and be a team and splendidly do what God wanted them to do, which was worship him first, work together to keep the garden, and make sure that he was home by 5 o'clock for supper. Right? Okay. So God made the decision that the best thing for mankind would be a woman. And then they worked together for greater good. Now we go to chapter 3, and unfortunately, we see consequences. After we saw the choice. It's there. You can eat it if you want to. However, you're going to die. Okay. So, in 3:14, we then, after he ate, actually, it's supposed to be 3:6. Sorry.
All right, now that's mine.
Yeah, that was the next one. I can't read my writing. Good thing I print. All right, 3:6. That's not one of mine at all. I like that. That's not it. All right. Now, this woman that God had given to him, this helpmate, this splendid, wonderful, and the people back then, because the air being cleaner, food being cleaner, water being cleaner, were probably a lot taller than they are today. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, so that, remember that tree of good and evil? That tree's pretty good for food. And it's pleasant to the eyes, and it's a tree desired to make one wise, and I'm only going to throw out something tantalizing here. How could she see, and what did she see that would her to make that statement? A tree to be desired to make one wise? I'll just leave it alone. She took of the fruit thereof and said, I like this. And she ate, and she said, come over here, Adam, got something for you. And as a typical man, sure, honey, whatever. All right, great. And he did eat too, verse 7, and God just then says, all right, out of the pool, it's over with. Their eyes of both were open, they knew they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and they started a nice fabric shop and all that with their aprons. So the whole thing basically changed. Don't do this. Many of you have children or had children, know what children look like. And you specifically say, don't do it. Well, maybe you're not quite that emphatic, or maybe you're more emphatic. You are teaching them a standard, and if they break that standard, there is hell to pay. Or there's heaven to pay. Okay, so basically, there's something that happens with all of that. Now, Adam and Eve specifically broke the commandment of God. They lost the spirit from God, and there were some serious major consequences. We move on to verse 14. God specifically now addresses in 3:14. He addresses in 3:14. There it is. So now, I have a hard time. Some people think that the serpent here is a spiritual serpent. However, why did the animal itself get cursed? I showed you a snake yesterday. And one of the things about a serpent is just what it says here. The Lord said unto the serpent, he talked directly to it, and he's really addressing what's possessing the serpent. Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, above every beast of the field, and upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust you shall eat all the days of thy life. How do snakes travel? In the dust of the earth. In a totally prostrate position for all eternity. No arms, no legs, they just crawl around and freak people out. Is what they do. So that was the first thing. There was a physical change in this particular animal, and he's also going to be addressing the serpent as in Satan behind it. Here in the next verse, he says, I'm going to put enmity now between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed, and her seed, your seed her seed is going to kick your head in. It's going to bruise thy head, and then you're going to bruise his heel. So the word bruise, crushingly destroy is going to, if you have an Achilles problem in your heel, it hurts, but not like getting your head kicked in. So who wins this one? The true guy eventually is going to win this one at the end, and the consequence will be that. So we handled now the serpent and talked about a hope, which we'll come back to. And then to the woman, he says, guess what? You know what's going to happen to you now? Your consequence to what you did, you're going to have children. And when you have these children, there's going to be some pressure. There's going to be some work having children. There's going to be a little bit more effort than just a child popping out. A little bit more is going to happen now when you start having these children. And besides that, your desire is going to be your husband, and he's going to rule over you, of course, until today you get more to give and you're back equal again. Next verse says, all right. God now speaks to Adam. Consequence serpent, consequence spiritual serpent, consequence to woman, consequence to man. Adam, love you, bro, but man, you shouldn't have done that. All right, here's your consequence. Here's what you get. Because you listened to the voice of your wife, and you ate of the tree which I commanded thee specifically. We got it in writing. You signed the contract. You know you're not supposed to do that. The ground is going to be cursed for thy sake. In pressure or labor, you're going to eat of it all the days of your life. And basically, the earth is getting cursed and all of that, and now there's going to be great needs for handymen. From this point on, because things are just going to go wrong. So you need somebody to fix things. And thorns, thistles, you're going to have to figure out how to grow crops, and you're going to have to eat of the crops yourself. All these consequences. The next verse says, In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread. Till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for you were dust, and now you're going to end up as dust again. And there's the end now of him. The final consequence is you could have lived forever, and now, because of eating of the fruit, which I specifically said not, life's going to be a lot more tougher. You see this beautiful Garden of Eden? Take a good look, because you won't see it for long. You're gone, and you're out, and basically then you're going to have to grow your own crops from the ground, and thorns are going to come up, and thistles are going to come up, and it's just going to be really a bad time until you get some migrant workers to help you. You're on your own, and you're going to eventually die then. Those were severe consequences. So, do we have 3:15 again? Did we put that back in there? We want to zero in on this one because God promised something. God said, again, I gave you a great opportunity. You chose not to take full advantage of it. Now I'm going to have a fix. I've got a seed, a promised seed of a woman that's going to come and redeem all of mankind. They didn't know it'd be 4,000 years later, roughly, when it happened, but it's all different. Everything's going to change, but I'm giving you a hope. I'm going to send a seed who is going to redeem all of mankind. And you now need it because you sinned, and life is all different. So if we go to Luke 1, verse 38, we'll fast forward really quickly to Mary, and look what the angel shows up and says, you've been chosen by God, you have no choice. To have no, not at all. She had qualifications. She had the love that it was going to take. She was going to have the stamina. She was the right woman for the job, but the angel said, you're beloved of God, you're highly favored, and all these great things. And then Mary got to the point where, will you do this? Will you take the responsibility? You've got a choice to have the Messiah. Ladies, how many of you would want to answer that call? So, and here's what she said. Behold the handmaid, and it's doule, which is the female form of doulos, the only time it's used. The handmaid of the Lord, be it unto me according to thy word. You got offered a choice. She considered it. She talked to the angel. She said, I have a few problems. I really can't have children yet because I don't know how to have children. I haven't had any, the usual way to do that. And then the angel explained how it was going to happen. And she finally said, okay, be it unto me according to thy word. And the angel went, yes. Yeah, did my job. I'm out of here. Boom. Been home in time for supper. And so, the Bible did. Now, go to Joshua 23, or look at Joshua 23. And here's a few other choices along the way. And of course, this is one we're all familiar with Joshua, so I had to include it. 23:14. And behold, this day I am going the way of all the earth. And you know in all your hearts and in all your souls, you have witnessed this, you have lived this. This is that second generation of people. All the parents died out that were 20 and older, and then they're all children went into the promised land, and they had some incredible things happening in the promised land. For more information, here's a shameless plug. The Joshua Judge's Truth, which continues what we covered yesterday on my webpage. You can continue on with them. Anyway, the plug. Okay, so here's what's happening. You know in all your hearts and in all your souls that not one thing hath failed of all the good things which the Lord your God spake concerning you. All are come to pass unto you, and not one thing has failed thereof. That's our God. That's our Father. He's just reminding them, guys, did you have food? Did you have water? Did we destroy 31, 37 nations in here? Are we getting to the promised land? Are we chopped up in here? Everything God had promised, everything God said he would do, guess what God did? He did it. Everything. So if they stuck with God and continued to move with him, everything he promised came to pass. Everything he promised came to pass. Everything. Everything he promised came to pass. And Joshua reminded them of that. You can trust this God. I'm going the way of all the earth. I'm going to get on a ship and leave Middle Earth now. Next verse. And I'm leaving, and then here's what you need to do in the next chapter. Now, therefore, fear the Lord. Because we know, fearing the Lord is the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. So it needs to start there. And serve Him in sincerity and in truth. Not by just words, but by the heart. Serve Him. Which means, remember that law Moses gave your parents? Stick to it. And one other part of that is your Messiah, the promised seed, is still coming. And put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. So what was one of the big concerns in there? What's the first commandment? What God is very image conscious. Serve me and me only. And what did He do to the Egyptian gods? Did He mock them a little bit? Yes, He did. Very much so. He showed the ineffectiveness of the Egyptian gods, so why would you want to serve them? Just like the next verse. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve. Are you going to serve the gods which your fathers served, that they learned about in Egypt, that also they served on the other side of the flood, and also they served the gods of the Amorites? You start seeing why they didn't get into the promised land, because they had too much fear induced by these other gods. In whose land you dwell, by the way. Just throw that little bit in there. Remember that the Amorites had this? And when you took over their house, you had to get rid of all their images. You had to get rid of anything that was attributed to their gods. And they no longer live here. You now live here. And you didn't buy it from them. You just walked in and took it. I gave it to you. In whose land you're dwelling? Their gods didn't take care of the Amorites. The gods on the other side of the flood didn't help them. The gods in Egypt didn't help them. And then, what's on everybody's wall in everybody's house? Go back to that one. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And that's the standard in all of our houses. We will serve the Lord. We'll serve the Lord properly with our whole heart, mind, soul, strength, and everything else. That's what Joshua is telling these people to do. I'm going to do it. You got a choice to make. You don't have to. You do not have to. But things will go a lot better for you if you do that. Next verse. And the people said, God forbid that we should forsake the Lord and serve other gods. We saw the other gods did nothing. For the Lord our God, He it is that brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Egypt. So they're acknowledging that their fathers, their parents, that God, the plagues, got them to the promise, got them out of Egypt totally. From the house of bondage, that's where they were living, and which did these great signs in our sight, and preserved us all the way where we went, and among all the people to whom we passed. And that Lord, who is our God, has taken such great care of us, and that Lord drove us out, and the Lord drove out from before us all the people, drove out the Amorites and all the other ites that lived in this land. Therefore, will we also serve the Lord. They are vocalizing that they would serve the Lord. That was their choice, because He is our God. We've seen what He's done for us for years and years and years. And we're going to accept Him as our God too. Not just you, we are vocalizing it so everybody will hear it. That is the true God. That's the God we want to serve. We go to Hebrews 11. Because Moses, here we see, he had a choice too. By faith, by believing Moses, when he came to years, refused, I will not identify myself as Pharaoh's daughter any longer. Instead, I'm going to choose to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin in the household of Pharaoh anymore. Done. Gone. I'm done with all that. I'm really an Israelite. I'm a child of God. These are my people. I'm going to be with them. And then he started doing things, as we know, and he had run away for 40 years, and then he came back. But he chose. He was going to be a Pharaoh. He was going to be the next Pharaoh. He was being trained. He knew all the great things, all the great knowledge that Egypt had, and he was being trained. Egyptian royalty. Egyptian aristocracy. He was going to be the man in Egypt. No. Chose instead here. All right. Next verse. Hebrews 12 now takes us to the point where the greatest heart choice that was ever made was Jesus Christ's life. And he had some choices too. Wherefore seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, that's Hebrews 11, let us lay aside, let us make the choice, make the decision, not to suffer the consequences, but lay aside every weight, and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and instead let us run with patience the race, the real race, the race of life that is set before us, looking unto Jesus. That's how we run the race today. Looking unto Jesus, who had some choices. But he became the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy, again, it wasn't joyous going through what he did. It wasn't happy. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get crucified tomorrow. It wasn't that. It was the joy looking past. The joy that was set before him, and because of that heart choice of concentrating on the joy, he was able to deal with patience, what he had to go through. What did he go through? The cross, the shame, and then the consequence of him doing all of that. He's only sitting at the right hand of the throne of God. I split sin up. Sitting at the right hand of the throne of God. Next verse. And we then, as we go through life and have choices to make, one of the best things to do to help us is to consider him. Consider what he did, what he accomplished, what he went through, and because of joy, he made the right choice, he endured. We think he made the right choice, right? Yes, we do. It's very good that he went through all of that on our behalf. So, for now we consider him who endures the contradiction of sinners. Sometimes King James is kind of fun. Against himself, so we consider what he went through because it's real easy to get weary. It's real easy to faint in our minds. And if we do that, it alters our choices. And we want our choices to be made upon the Word of God. We want to stay there. So, next verse. Basically, the greatest heart choice, Jesus Christ making that decision to sacrifice his life for all of mankind. And God had put the whole thing together. And of course, this is still a great verse. It may be overused, John 3:16, but it's still a great verse. You know, for God so loved the world, the earth, the physical. No. He's not an earth day. It's the people on the earth that we're talking about here. God loved the people. God loved his people. God put this whole thing together, the whole earth and everything, for his people. So we got something to live on, something we can cultivate on, something we can see his beauty and greatness with it. He loved the world, the people that he gave. He offered up his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish. That's the consequence if you believe you are in him. You're not going to perish, but you get instead everlasting life. That's door number 2. Take that one. Door number 1, perish. Enjoy this life like Moses could have. Door number 2, much better. Philippians then shows us some of the consequences for Jesus Christ. Not only is he sitting at the right hand of God, but when he found himself in fashion as a man, he humbled himself, became obedient to death. He became obedient to the death of the cross. What happened? Then God highly exalted him. God then gave him a name above all name, above every name. That at that name of Jesus, every knee is going to bow, things in heaven, things in earth, and those who have been buried beneath the earth, and they get up. All of them because of his choice. And at every tongue, then, everybody's going to have to confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. If you do it while you're alive, you get to enjoy the benefits of it. We get the glory of the Father. But if you didn't do it, you're still going to have to acknowledge it when you get up. Now, Colossians, we go to Acts next. All right. So, for us, for those who have life after what Christ accomplished, Peter said, repent, be baptized every one of you in the name of Jesus Christ. You too will get remission, forgiveness of all your sins. Every time you decide to do it yourself, instead of trying to do it God's way, gone, forgotten, forgiven. And you then can get the gift of the Holy Spirit. You're not going to get on a waiting list. You can get it right away. Here it is. You don't have to call Amazon. It's there for you right away. The gift of the Holy Spirit. For that promise of that gift, because of the joy and because of what he accomplished, because of everything he went through, the consequence for us today, if we decide to accept Jesus as Lord, the promises unto you, the promises unto our children, and to all that are far off, even as many as the Lord our God shall call. And that calling is an open invitation for all of mankind from that point on. Anybody, anywhere, whether they live in South Africa, Uganda, or Cleveland, it's available for everybody now to get the gift of the Holy Spirit and to enjoy life to its fullest. In fact, Colossians 1 here tells us, this God, then now we have been delivered. We have been delivered from the power of darkness. And now we have been transferred. We have been transferred. We have been translated, Old King James English, transferred. We went from the power of darkness to the kingdom, a new kingdom of his dear Son. Verse 14, in whom now we are in the kingdom of his Son, redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins. These are all things that are consequences for us by accepting, not to perish, but to have eternal life through the Savior, through the promised seed of the woman, through the choices that God made available to us today. We have been transferred from the evil north side to the rebuilding south side. Anyway, so now we're in a whole new kingdom. That was the joke. Romans 10. I thought it was good. You guys probably remember 1969. So I'm kidding. Anyway, some of you are old enough to remember 1969. It was a. All right. We move on to Romans 10 because it's going to be put together that classic for us. Here is the choice. If, it makes choice, conditional. If you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. Consequences. Salvation. Saved from the wrath to come. Given eternal life. And a lot of other things too, we're not going to get into. But you shall be saved. For with the heart, man believes in righteousness. With the mouth, confession is made unto salvation. And because it says in the scriptures that if you make this choice, if you believe in God in him, you will not be ashamed. You will not be disappointed in that choice. You will take the green pill. You're not going to be disappointed if you make that choice. Now, go to the next verse, because these are people who make, it should be, okay, because God now has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. Don't you love that, talking to all know-it-alls? And all we know is the scriptures. And we can just lay it out there. We're, the base things, the foolish things. We confound the wisdom of this world. And God hath chosen. God chose. This is one of the things that he thinks he's enjoying today, is that God has chosen. Go back to that verse. I didn't finish it. Oh, is that the verse? That's the verse. Is this an eye test? Okay. And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. God has chosen the weak things, the base things, the things that aren't socially acceptable, Christians, to bring to naught, and the base things of the world, things that are despised. God chose. God made that decision. Go back to that verse. I read fast, not that fast. Yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are. Now we go on. You see, God chose a certain specific wisdom. And we go to 29. Thank you. And that is because the wisdom of this world is all based upon the natural things, upon the flesh. And you know what? There's no glory in His presence, because His presence isn't there. You can't glory in it. Look at Jude. Jude 18. These are the people who decided not to accept Christ. This is their consequence. How those people, how that they told you they're going that we know that there are mockers in the last time, right? And these mockers are people who decided against Christ, and they're going to walk after their own ungodly lust. Next verse. They're going to walk after their own ungodly lust. These be they who separate. These are people who cause divisions, people who are sensual, having not the Spirit. They didn't get the Spirit. They refused Jesus Christ. So they're sensual. They cause decisions. They walk mockingly. There aren't too many of them around, are there? One's too many. But there's many people who are out there because this is their consequence. They are sensual. They only walk by the senses. They do not have the Spirit of God. God can't warn them. God can't help them. God can't teach them. God can't take care of them. They have separated themselves. They cause divisions. They're so wrapped up in their ungodly ways that everything is what they think is right. And they go from there. Next verse tells us, unfortunately, they're unhappy anyway. Death and hell were cast in the lake of fire. Second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast in the lake of fire. So that is extreme consequence, second death, for all eternity, for those who refuse to believe regarding the Messiah, bad consequences. They're sensual now, causing division, causing problems, ungodly lusts, or, that first tells us some of the things that those who have accepted Christ get to do. Well, I beseech you, therefore, brother, by the mercies of God, that now you present yourself a living sacrifice. We are alive. Live today for Him. We're living sacrifices. We have been holified. We're separated. We've been made holy. And we've been acceptable unto God because that's our reasonable or logical or religious service. And then conform to this. No, we don't want to do that. We just saw what happens if you conform to this world. Not very good there for Jude. So be not conformed to this world. Instead, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Again, choice time. You renew your mind by your choice to what's written in the book and endeavor to live in love. And this is the day time now, because that's our choice. I'm going to live love or I'm going to live lust. I'm going to live godly, I'm going to live godly. We make these choices all the time, and we try to avoid the sin that does so easily beset us. I hate that verse, it's so true. All right, let that verse go. It's the Spirit of me. So don't be conformed to the world. Be transformed. You got to do it because it's your mind. You don't go to Walmart and get a new mind when you get born again. Right? You can't order one. And now you have to prove what is the good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. Now, we move on to 2 Thessalonians, and we are now bound. If we accept Christ, we are now bound to give thanks always to God for you. We have to pray for others. We give thanks for other people to God. Brethren, beloved of the Lord, because God has from the beginning, He chose you. He chose you to salvation. He made it available, we accepted it. We said, thank you very much for that invitation. I will accept Christ. He will be my Lord. And I will suffer the consequences in this life for the consequences of eternal life. So, from the beginning, he chose you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth, whereunto he called you by our gospel. Who's been given the ministry of reconciliation? Mankind. And we're all mankind. And now it's up to us to speak the gospel to other people, to those who hear, those who listen, to the obtaining of the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore, brethren, exhortation, stand fast and hold the traditions of the truths of the Bible, which you have been taught, whether by word or by us living them. So, that's Thessalonians. We go to Timothy, and in Timothy, thou therefore endure hardship. Hardship as in training, as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. I happen to know a few soldiers. Some of you have been a soldier. And did you get training? Hopefully you got great training. You're still alive. And we are to endure the training, endure the hardship, endure the effort of what it takes to be a good soldier of Jesus Christ. Verse 4 tells us, no man that warreth, no man who is serving, no man that is competing, no man that is involved in this life as a servant of Jesus Christ entangles himself with the affairs of this life. Now, if you're special ops, the thing that you're really concerned most about is what your portfolio and your staff is doing back home while you're performing your duty, right?
No.
No! That would be entangling yourself in what's going on in the war. You will not do that. You won't live through it. So, what are we most concerned about? Do not get entangled with the affairs of this life. I've seen too many people get way into all they want to talk about the affairs of this life and what's going on all over the place, rather than realizing we should serve Him and please Him, who has chosen us to be a good soldier. And I add good. This was one, right? Verse 5 then tells us, and if you are going to strive, if you're going to enter this contest, if you're going to be involved in what you've been called to do, you're not going to get a full reward unless you strive by the rule book. You got to know the right words. You don't go to a tennis match in hockey gear. Do you? No, we need to learn properly and strive properly and contend properly according to the rule book and not get our mental capacity renewed to the affairs of this world. That will just entangle us and trip us up and will restrict us from being the best we can be for God in this day and time and hour. So we go to Romans 15. Now the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, by accepting Christ as our Lord, by believing on the promised seed of the woman, that He is the true Messiah, and understanding what's available for us today. You know what we get? Joy and peace. I don't know about you, but I kind of like joy and peace. It's sure better than ungodly lust and all the other things from that natural person causing division and problems and all of that. We get joy and peace today when we renew our mind. Or we can let our mind go all over the place and forget about joy and peace. Because we concentrate on the world, but then concentrate on the Word and the love and the complete justification of being in the kingdom of God. Now, joy and peace and believing, so now we can abound in hope. Just to have a hope is great. To have a hope. And then to abound in it, and to know what that hope is, incredible. And it's all through the power of the Holy Spirit. So we're going to close in 1 Thessalonians 4, because I am so thankful I'm not ignorant anymore. When I was growing up in St. Catherine of Siena, in Hammond, I was pretty ignorant, because I just learned about saints and things like that. Really didn't learn a lot about God and Christ and those type of things, which are much better. So now that we're not ignorant anymore, we know what the book says. And don't you like being in the know? When I was young, it was like, there's a secret, and everybody knows it, and nobody's telling me. And then you know what got worse? When I got older, I realized they didn't have the answers either. They didn't know the secret either. That was scarier, because nobody was going to pull me aside and go, "This is really what God did," and lay out life to me until I took the class in the Bible. And I went, "Oh, okay, I get it now. I'm no longer ignorant about the many different things that the Bible tells us not to be ignorant here specifically concerning those who have fallen asleep. That you sorrow not, even as others. And those are the ones who have no comprehension, no Christ, no understanding. They have no hope." And there's so many people in the world. How do you live life with no hope? Wow. For if we believe again, Jesus died and rose again, even so them also, which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain in the coming of the Lord shall not prevent and precede them which are asleep. Verse 16. Isn't this great to know what's really going to happen? I was working a job one time, and the guy says, "You need to get on top of things, Christ is coming back." And I went, "Man, I can't wait." And it shook his theology, because he was using it as a fear tactic to better change your ways instead of, "It's part of our hope. We're expecting him to come back." And the guy just took a step back. And he just took a step back. Listen to him. Yeah, it is a good thing, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's a great thing. The Lord himself is going to descend from heaven with a shout. It's time. The voice of the archangel, the trumpet of God, and the dead are going to rise up first. The dead in Christ are rising first. And verse 17 then tells us, "We which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds." We're going to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord who is seated at the right hand of God. A great ending. But, verse 18 says, now that you know that, now that you're no longer ignorant, comfort others who have no hope, who need to understand what this life is really about. It's all about Christ. And so much more is available when you renew your mind to it, when you learn the word, renew your mind to it, and live it. And then comfort everybody else. Comfort one another with these words. So I want to comfort you today, brethren, with these words, because they are a joyous word that gives us peace and joy and hope today. Let's close in prayer. Father, thank you for how much you care for us. Thank you that you made your words so simple that we can look at it, we can believe it, we can trust it, and that we can live it through its entirety. And we are so thankful that we're not ignorant in this day and time and hour how much we can live for you. And we're just grateful that as we go through life, all the years of our life, knowing that Christ is coming back, knowing we have your love, knowing we have hope, knowing we have your peace, knowing we can be joyful, and produce all the fruit of the Spirit. We are so thankful for how much you care for us and what you've made so easily available through your Son's accomplishment, that we will joyously tell others and live for you in this day and time and hour. Amen.